All right, everyone, by my watch and by the clock on the wall, it's 6 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and get started. That's time for others to stop talking, and because I am. And I'm talking because if you don't know who I am, I'm the President of the Board of Education for the Ithaca City School District. Really, I'm here tonight because I guess these guys make me run meetings. There's a few board members here. This is not a Board of Education meeting for the Ithaca City School District. This is a mandated public hearing by the state of New York. The New Roots Charter School has applied for a change in their charter. I think you all are quite aware of that. And we have an obligation as the home district to hold a public hearing. And that is what we're doing at 6 o'clock. Jennifer is going to give you a rundown of how this is going to work.
So everyone who wants to speak, there's a sign-up sheet outside. You can also use that sheet if you have written comments. I provided paper out there, so if you feel like you'd rather just provide written comments as opposed to speaking, please feel free to do so. I also included a copy of our press release out there, and my contact information is included in that press release with my email and my phone number, and how to get, my office is just right here, so you know how to get here, you can give it to me. So if you want to provide written comments to me still beyond the public hearing tonight, I'm accepting them through Friday, okay? Little housekeeping, there's a bathroom down the hall if anyone needs to use the bathroom. It's down at the end of the hall. There's also a water fountain down there if anybody's looking for it or anybody needs to go get that. So there is I have the names for people who have turned in for speaking. If anyone hasn't turned it in yet, go ahead and provide that to me. Thank you. I also want to let you know this is being recorded. Charles is over here recording it, and we're going to send the link to the recording to SUNY Charter School Institute as well as State Ed. I also have to send it to them as well, so they will get that as part of the packet with all the comments that go with the public hearing. It's your opportunity, but please remember it is this meeting is recorded. There's also, for your convenience, there's going to be a little timer that's going to pop up for the 2 minutes. It'll turn yellow when there's, I think, 30 seconds left, and then it'll turn red when your 2 minutes is up. There's no buzzer, no electric shock or anything like that to stop you. Okay?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you recommend that we position ourselves when we're giving
The
our
podium,
comments?
please.
Thank you. And the podium is the place where you want it.
Right, so you can see this. You can see the screen, and he's got the camera set up.
And the camera is set there. You have 2 minutes, approximately 2 minutes. There's just really an opportunity to try to get through. Anyone who wishes to speak tonight will have an opportunity to speak. The 2 minutes is really just your impressions. If you have a white paper, if you have lots of information that you wish to share with the Charter School Institute, that's fine. This is not the venue to do that. That's what you submit via Jennifer, or you can send it to them yourselves, but really your comments are not limited to what you can submit, but you have 2 minutes to speak tonight. And any other questions other than Danielle should start moving toward the podium because we're going to start. So we'll pull up the names. We'll go through the names that we have, and then anyone else wishes to speak at that time. Anyone else that comes in late will be able to speak as well. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. So you have your names, and we really don't have a role here other than to listen and appreciate you attending tonight, taking part. And thank you, Danny.
Oh, thank you.
I've always been impressed with New Roots' mission to grow students for a just and sustainable future. When I was hired to lead the new LEAP program last August, I was incredibly excited. My background of working in public schools, teaching homeschooling classes, and being a mom of 2 school-aged kids has given me a wide perspective into the educational system and all the ways it manifests. It has been an amazing year at New Roots. In addition to building skills and inquiry and discovery in the classroom, our students, ages 12 through 14, are active members of our community. They have done consistent service learning all year, partnering with Loaves and Fishes, the Permaculture Park, and most recently, BJM second graders to help with literacy skills. We have hosted dynamic speakers to talk about racism and inequality, such as Svante Myrick and Barry Durfel. We have visited the Ithaca Times to learn about journalism, the Workers Center to learn about a living wage, and the History Center to see primary sources firsthand and learn about our community's history. And this is just a fraction of the places we visited and guest educators we have hosted this year. We have heard remarkable feedback from parents who appreciate the approach that New Roots takes with students. Some statements include, "I feel like I finally have my son back." "My child loves school this year. After last year, I'm amazed that she acclimated so quickly." And, "My daughter loves all the hands-on learning experiences." Young people thrive when they are encouraged to be active participants in their education, and we are seeing that in the LEAP program at New Roots. I started my career as an English teacher working in a junior high school in the Southern Tier. Though I had a great experience, I found myself wishing that I could do more hands-on learning with my students, but was unable to because of the regimented educational arrangement of the school, which was very much focused on having students pass the state-mandated tests. At New Roots, we believe that students get the most from their education when they learn not only in the classroom, but in the real world as well. It is apparent to me and the students and families I work with that our community greatly benefits from New Roots Charter School, and I believe the creation of a middle school is a necessary step towards providing families with an awesome public educational option. Thank you.
Can I ask a point of information of the last speaker? Is that?
Well, at the end. Up
Okay.
next is Ella. You can see your name. Feel free to line up. And Mike is next, so Mike, feel free to send you over the
I'd like to start by saying my name is Ella Lynn Evans, and I'm a senior at New Roots Charter School, and I've been there since I was in 10th grade.
Bless you.
Okay, as a New Roots student, I wouldn't be attending high school if it weren't for New Roots Charter School. I went to 9th grade in the Custodial School District, and it didn't work for me as it does for many people. I come here in full support of New Roots High School. I think that, especially for how long we've been around, New Roots Charter School works as a high school. I am a little bit unclear on the middle school program and not quite sure how we're going to proceed with it, but definitely as a high school, New Roots works. And today I had the privilege of running a student forum for the New Roots Charter School, and students from every single class were invited to come and speak. And we heard really great things about the student programs and New Roots and student feedback about how everything is going. And students believe that we need to strengthen these programs because they're so brilliant. And when we strengthen these programs, expansion will be a really great idea and possible. I love New Roots and can honestly say it has been the best environment for me, and I would love to see it flourish and expand eventually. Thank you.
Thanks, and Mike, and then Daniela, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Michael Ruda, and I came to New Roots my sophomore year, and after going to many, many different high schools, I never really thought I was going to find a place that really suited me. And then I found New Roots, and I was hesitant at first, and it turned out really well. And I agree completely with Ella in the sense that I think what we have should most definitely be strengthened and put into concrete motion. Like everything we do as a high school and even as a LEAP program should be fine-tuned as best as possible before we take a drastic and more rapid approach to anything different. Because if we do that, we risk taking focus away from something that's not complete. And I think before we should do anything, I think we should complete one thing before we go on to the next. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And Isabella after Daniela.
Good evening. My name is Daniela. I wanted to share my delight and my support at the Middle School Initiative for New Roots. I'm a mom of a 11-year-old and a 20-year-old. I was a former Montessori teacher and Montessori administrator. And there's something magical about children in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade zone. This is that time in development where either that thrill of learning, the flames are fanned, and you see that light continue to burn bright in their eyes, or it can start to fade out a little bit. So to have an amazing bridge, to have another phenomenal option for middle school children in the community is just, I was thrilled when I discovered it. I never come to these, and I'm like, oh, I'm coming to speak here. I think this is a phenomenal opportunity in the community and for the children. And New Roots is stellar at supporting children in connecting to who they are inside, connecting to their unique talents and gifts, and then naturally when we connect that, we want to give it outward to others. So New Roots is just such a gem in this community, and I just wanted to say I'm delighted and thank you.
Thanks. And Tina will follow Isabella.
Well, my name is Isabel, and I'm 13 years old, and I'm in the LEAP program. When I first started at school, I don't know, I didn't know who I wanted to be. And as this year has gone on, I know that I can be myself at this school, and I know who I want to be now. And this school has helped me so much. And I've been to several other schools before I came to this one. And this one has definitely been the best for several different reasons. One being that at other schools that I've been to, they just taught us things and they didn't tell us why we were learning them, and they didn't collaborate with the real world. And at this school, they teach us things and we go into the community and we learn why we're learning them. And that's just really important to me, and I think that this school would benefit a lot from middle school, and that's it.
Thanks, Isabel. And Tina, just before you get started with your, well, go ahead, step up. Well, or not step up. Just the LEAD program, just for our benefit, what's the LEAD program?
The LEAP program is an innovative new opportunity that was created by SUNY last year when they renewed our charter as a kind of gap year experience prior to high school. So it's interesting. It's not a graded program. I was talking to Dr. Brown about this just the other day. So I'd be happy to send you more information about that. But it's a program that has it's available to students between the ages of 12 and 15 as a high school preparatory program to strengthen skills before they enter high school.
A one-year program.
A one-year program.
Okay. No, thank you. Thanks, Tina. Go ahead.
Welcome. Thank you, Rob. So my name is Tina Nelson Hodges, and I serve as principal and superintendent of New Roots Charter School. And I'm here today as a mother and a member of this community and a 30-year veteran educator to share why I'm excited at the prospect of expanding opportunities for young people in our region to choose a small student-centered learning environment at New Roots for their middle school years. Oh, Daniela, you are a tough act to follow. I'm going to talk more as a school administrator here. As a public charter high school, New Roots has brought the many benefits students and families often enjoy in private schools to our public school system. I'm proud to share that in our 9th year, New Roots is receiving national recognition as one of the 10 leading schools in our field by the Green Schools National Network. We're inspired by the learning opportunities we've been able to offer in our high school, but we're not ready to rest on our laurels just yet. Many young people start at New Roots in grade 9 or even later with math and literacy skill deficits, so they're starting below grade level. Starting high school at a deficit, the prospect of graduating 4 years is a daunting task. The good news is that students who enter New Roots earlier in their educational journey are highly successful in meeting this important milestone. In fact, 87% of the students who started high school at New Roots in 2013 as 9th graders graduated 4 years later. We know that more students will reach their graduation goals if they have the option to prepare for high school success by deepening their passion for learning, cultivating self-direction, and developing strong literacy and mathematics skills through a Montessori-inspired approach to learning in middle school. We aspire to the 100% graduation rate demonstrated by schools like Clark Montessori, the first public Montessori secondary school in the nation. Our conclusions are supported by a 2015 study by the University of California at Berkeley that demonstrated that while charter high school outcomes were similar to those of traditional public high schools, charter middle schools improved learning decisively. Students switching into charter middle schools from traditional elementary schools enjoyed the strongest gains in English language arts and mathematics. Families started calling for a New Roots Middle School before we opened our doors to our high school in 2009. As a parent and as an educator, I value expanding choices in public education so that each and every student can find the learning environment that best inspires and nurtures them to dream big and to reach their goals. Thank you.
And Corinne. Followed by Zach.
I'm here tonight as a mother of 3 children who graduated from ICSD, as a community member, and as a licensed clinical psychologist. I cannot support New Roots' application for a revision, quote, of its charter to include a middle school starting in 2018-2019. This would be the 3rd revision request, and each time it is because of a failure to meet its charter requirements, which is part of a vital public trust. Twice, New Roots has asked and received a downward revision of its enrollment targets despite its initial false demonstration of, quote, an overwhelming community interest and demand, end quote, for the original charter school. Who is holding New Roots accountable? Who is upholding the public trust that should have started with the original vetting and approval for this school? The local taxpayer in Ithaca alone has paid upwards of $7 million over the past 8 years for this school. This does not include outlying public school districts to whom New Roots had to turn to try to fill its required enrollment. Now we are asked to comment on adding a middle school, which is not just a revision, but a substantial change in direction of the original charter. The proposal is to start a Montessori middle school in a community which already has at least 2. This change in direction is once again because of their demonstrated failure to meet acceptable high school requirements. For example, in their most recent Accountability Plan Progress Report, which is 2015-2016, the summary of their high school graduation goals are that they do not achieve that very minimum requirement of 75% of their students graduating in 4 years. That's because they do not have 75% of their students achieving at least a 65 on 3 different Regents exams by the end of the 2nd year. And finally, they do not exceed the graduation cohort percentage of the local Ithaca City School District.
And Corinne, you're...
Oh, go quickly?
Yes.
They were never originally approved for a Montessori methodology in their original charter vetting process. There is no reason to believe that the children who have and will attend New Roots will be able to adjust and benefit appropriately from the lack of structure, strong emphasis on self-direction, and high levels of self-motivation in learning required day 1 in a Montessori environment. This proposal for a public charter middle school must be fully vetted as a separate school by CSI before any approval is given to go ahead. This vetting must include an accurate assessment of true community-supported demand, as well as answer the question how a failing charter high school is seen as any justification for approval of an add-on middle school. This is an issue of public trust, and the feeling that this trust has been repeatedly violated over and over by the officials in Albany.
Corinne, you need to
Thank you.
finish.
Thank you. That's it.
And Zach.
Hi, I'm Zach. I am the facilitator of our student council at New Roots. I'm also a senior. I came to New Roots in the 9th grade from Lansing. And before I say anything else, I'd just like to start by saying that New Roots saved my life, and I don't mean that in like a figurative manner. But if it wasn't for New Roots, I wouldn't have the opportunities I did. It really built up my self-confidence, and that's why I'm able to stand in front of you today. And I think, if I had the chance to go to a New Roots middle school, I would have leaped at the opportunity, just as I did in 9th grade when I first made the decision to come here. And before New Roots, college wasn't even considered an option for me, but after attending New Roots, I have not only been accepted to colleges, but I've also received a merit-based scholarship, and that's all I'd like to say.
Thanks, Zach. And Dante, there you are.
Sorry.
Alright, I'm Dante. I'm a lead student at New Roots, and so I came from a school in surrounding areas here, and I was getting bullied for half the year, and the teachers, they didn't do a thing about it. This guy was pushing me into my locker for half the year, and here at New Roots, I would just like to say that they do a great job with bullying. They do a great job with anyone who does anything for anything and who disobeys the rules. Every day we go outside to walk to lunch or do anything, we go outside. And last year we didn't go outside at all, because I remember last year we wouldn't go outside at all. Well, 1 year, but alright, it's alright. I guess what I'm trying to say is that New Roots has given me so many more opportunities to get out into the community than my previous school experiences, because we go into so many places out in the community, like GIAC and Challenge, and so many other places that I'm forgetting. But we go to so many places out in the community. I don't know. Whatever.
Still had time left, Dante. You're good. You're all good.
You did great. Yeah, I'm
You're good.
Well, I am touched and speechless to follow my son in speaking before you today. A year ago, I couldn't ever have imagined him speaking in public, let alone having this opportunity to speak in strong support of New Roots' expansion as soon as possible, to make opportunities for students to study, more students to benefit from their programs as soon as possible. His experience has been life-changing. As he said, we reside in a neighboring rural school district where he had thrived in elementary school, but when he got to the middle school years, he really started to struggle, and he did face some personal issues. But more so, he was, in a learning environment where the teachers were, busy with busy work, focused on state testing, too busy to support him, too busy to address the bullying and other challenges that he faced, too busy to truly inspire him, too busy to nurture that flame for learning in any meaningful way. He was depressed, he didn't like going to school, and now he has thrived in the program. I cannot say enough positive things about Tina, the principal and founder, and the staff and administration at New Roots, providing a truly life-changing experiences for these young people. We're thankful we had this option. We made the decision. We heard about the new LEAP program a week before the beginning of the fall term, and we courageously decided to go for it and switch schools and switch our lives around so that he could attend. And he is happy and thriving again, empowered, curious, intellectual, and an active member of the community. New Roots offers remarkable opportunities for anyone, even for students who haven't been struggling. What an opportunity to study in a tuition-free Montessori setting. There's a big difference there. we did not have any other option in our home school district, and thankfully Dante is happy in New Roots. Having this unique opportunity to study in a smaller scale educational setting with a just and progressive philosophy and a curriculum as relevant to the 21st century. Thanks.
Thanks. Michael?
My name is Michael Mazza, and I'm sharing with you today as a kindergarten to high school ICSD graduate. After graduating from college and starting my career in California, I moved my family back to Ithaca in 2009 so that my daughters could grow up in our community with our many educational options. My relationship with New Roots is dynamic, starting as a community partner in 2016, leading to my current role as a parent of a student in the LEAD program and a staff member on the admin team. I was introduced to the school when I was designing a youth entrepreneurship program we call YEM. New Roots believed in the program based on our shared vision of giving youth in our community a hands-on learning experience. And in this case, it was designing and launching a business. My experience with YEM gave me two distinct inspirations while working with New Roots. One, they're a school committed to community, and they made it clear through our collaboration that our program should be available to all youth in the community, regardless of what school they go to. This led to 55 participants in our program, with 15% New Roots students, 15% homeschool students, and 70% ICSD students. It was purely a community project for everyone and will continue to be for the future. My second inspiration was that New Roots' style of hands-on learning appeals to younger students, as 72% of our participants were pre-high school aged. This demonstrates the great opportunity New Roots has to inspire younger students within new middle school. And as a parent of a student at New Roots, I've discovered the power of choice. My daughter chose New Roots based on the small class sizes and the one-on-one support from teachers. Based on her choice, she's empowered to show up to school every day committed to learning and is demonstrating a newfound enjoyment for school. I'm grateful that New Roots is available to give her that choice, and I support giving all students in our community a choice of where they go to school. My younger daughter may choose DeWitt, LACS, or New Roots, and whichever she chooses, she will empower her education. And with that, I strongly support the middle school at New Roots.
And Neil, there you go.
Last one.
There may be others.
I'd like to speak in support of the proposed New Roots Middle School charter revision for the following reasons. New Roots offers a very different experiential model for adolescent education. In Ithaca, it's inspired by the Montessori method, with a strong focus on community building, project-based learning experiences, and on sustainability. There's a limited choice available in Ithaca for an alternative middle school education. New Roots would provide other options to the restricted lottery-based system at Lehman or an expensive private school. It's a seamless transition into their high school. New Roots is integrated into our downtown environment with an easy access to the community. It helps students feel part of the larger environment and encourages participation and engagement, both vital for the Ithaca community and their goal of greater youth participation. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. So anyone else wish to speak? Now's the time. Anyone? Any of the members of the public sitting on this side wish to speak? You don't have to. Obviously, we have an opportunity to do that, but.
I do not have a statement, but I do have some questions, if that is permissible.
Well, you can state your questions, doesn't mean you, this is
Okay.
not a discussion, so you can state your questions.
The LEAP program, Tina, you said it is a gap year prior to high school, set up by SUNY charter schools when they renewed your charter. So charter schools gave permission for 12 to 14-year-olds not to be enrolled in school.
They're enrolled in school. They're
What
just not-
what school are they enrolled in?
New Roots Charter School.
So you're already running a middle school.
It's not a middle school. It's a
It's a pre-high school program, it's not a middle school. That's what's very.
Are they in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade?
No.
So they are not enrolled, I just want to get this clear, what the state has done here, that they are not enrolled in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. They're, okay, I'm seldom astounded sitting on the school board, but this is astounding news to me. How many LEAP programs are there?
There's one.
In New York State.
So they set this up specifically for your school at the time they renewed your charter, thank you.
Yes.
And how many students are in the LEAP program? 19. 19.
We learn something new every day. That's what it's like.
Power of education, Rob.
So,
Anyone else have a comment up here before I go?
do you want to, well, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, because I missed a detail or two. I just want to point out that we were talking about a lot of teachers and how they really, we mentioned a lot about the classes and everything, but the teachers at NERDS are really, really important to this, and I don't think I've ever felt more important to a teacher in a learning experience ever than until I was at NERDS. So to take into consideration about just how NERDS progresses in the future, I think, you know, these teachers really do help us a lot. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mike. This is the public hearing portion. We don't particularly have a time limit, but if no one has anything to say, we're not going to sit here and look at each other. So, because tomorrow night we have another meeting to go to, and we were at meetings last night. So, for the Ithaca City School District, we meet fairly often. E, do you want to say anything to the group?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see so many familiar faces out there. So let me just start by saying there's some people in this room sitting in front of me I know extremely well. Some of the most creative people in the community. Just to give you a little history from my perspective, some of us here were around when New Roots Charter School started. It's hard to argue at the time that there wasn't a place for that school in this community. That's one of the reasons I joined the board. We had 50% graduation rate for African American kids with IEPs, 504s, some other ethnicities, former white kids. It might have been lower than that. We had a lot of work to do. So those of us who were either brave or foolish enough, right, we ran to get the votes to join the school board of the public education district. We're not where we were then, now. There's been a lot of movement of children back and forth between both of the schools over the years. I would argue that some children are coming back to us because now they realize we actually do care about them. We actually do have measurable outcomes. And I think now, most of us here on this side of the table are in agreement that it's time to look at New Roots with the critical eye we've been trained to look at as managers of a substantial operation. And those of you who follow this work, some people say we must see TV on Tuesday night. How the hell did that happen? I don't know.
Right, well, pretty entertaining.
We have all sorts of measurements, right? Cultural responsiveness. We want our graduation rates to be high, irresponsive of the membership group. And I could go on and on. We are now in a position where we want to investigate New Roots' definition of success. Is it college readiness? Is it career readiness? Is it matriculation as social justice warriors? How are you defining your success? We see the numbers. So nobody be fooled about whether or not we see the numbers regarding graduation rates or whether or not we know how to read them, right? We know how to read budgets. What we're going to be inquiring now, in a very serious way, is to begin to get information about what you deem success, and you're going to have to be more accountable to us. For those of you who don't understand how math works, let's say roughly every 60 kids that decides to go to this public charter, takes $1 million out of our budget, right? And in a $124, $130 million budget, that might not seem like much. However, to us, it's death by 1,000 cuts. What do I mean by that? If 8 students per grade per school disappear, doesn't mean we can shut down a classroom. Doesn't mean we can heat one wing of the building any less, right? Doesn't mean we have to put one bus out of commission. Our costs remain the same. I want to say this very personally. If there are some high school students who felt there were no other place for them, whether or not you're ICS students or you come from another district, I've always very personally supported that because a young man, where did he go? Said that New Root saved his life, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the first time we've heard this. We know that not all children are whatever shape you want to call it, and that they may not fit whatever shape you want to call our high school, which is why many years ago people were wise enough to start Lehman Alternative School as an option. But for middle school, I'm not ready to concede anything. I'm not ready to concede that we can't do the work to make that a safe and comfortable space for our children. Are there challenges? Absolutely. If you follow this work, you know how much we've been up here killing ourselves, rolling up our sleeves to fix it for all children, right? The children walk around this high school now feeling loved. The children are graduating at a rate that is one of the best in the nation. We're winning awards from Superintendent of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not in the place that we were a decade ago. So for any of you to sit there and say that there's no place for your child in our middle school curriculum, if you're a part of this district, I'm going to strenuously disagree with you, right? This is a very unusual situation where in most cases you have the public school willing to divest itself of its problem children and send them to the charter school so we can artificially inflate our numbers and swell up our chests and say, look how good we're doing. I'm telling you, in no uncertain terms, we want those babies. We don't want them to go anywhere. We want responsibility for them. If they present challenges to us to make us think better, to make us turn your babies into public speakers, then that's a responsibility we're willing to take. So we're not in a position to fight with New Roots. That's not what I'm saying. But I think you should all expect that the days of the elephant that some people call us, ignoring the flea, are over. We're going to begin demanding some accountability, some real numbers, some real descriptions of what your purpose is. The Montessori school model, as Tina mentioned herself, there's one example of how this works at a high school level nationally. One. Is that satisfactory for anybody here? Every 60 children represents $1 million that disappears from our coffers.
I stopped a long time ago trying to put a clock on Eldred, so we're more than happy to have folks have a conversation, and you should do that. For everyone else, unless you wish to speak and have 2 minutes, if you wish, go ahead.
I'd just like to point out that.
Yeah, go ahead. Definitely stand up.
I'd just like to point out that a lot of New Roots charter school students are not from the Ithaca City School District and hence do not have the opportunities that you are speaking of. I just wanted to point that out and say that.
And speaking on that, 2 of the people in the audience right now went to Ithaca City School District, and me and Michael both went to 9th grade together actually, and have known each other since middle school. And I can tell you that me as a person, I would be hurting your numbers if I was still enrolled in IHS because I would have dropped out a long time ago. And your graduation rate, depending on the amount of students that have left, would be going down. Where when we leave, your graduation rate doesn't drop because we're not counted. So
I'm in an absolute agreement with this. I remember when I went to IHS and when I started 9th grade, and it wasn't.
it just doesn't work for some people. And I think discounting that, even though it's $1 million for 60 children, those 60 children's lives matter in a way more than just like us, like even what Zach said, us wanting to not live anymore at these schools, which I can tell you from personal experience, I've done at the high school when I was in 9th grade. I didn't want to live anymore.
Remind me
And
of
New
your
Roots is
name
home-
again?
I'm Ella Leon Evans. I believe you know my mom, Valerie
Ella?
Evans.
Of course.
Yeah.
Your hair is a different color, but of course
It
I
is.
recognize. Right, so
I
you-
feel more myself at New Roots, so.
So remember what
the
I
hair
said.
comes out.
Remember what I said. The high school, for me personally, and I think this is what folks in the audience who have been against New Roots have heard from us behind this table for years.
Mm-hmm.
We are very reluctant to stand in the way of young women your age, young men your age, who have a sense of self and who say they want to try an alternative. Right?
Yeah, I think also like.
What we're saying is dipping into the middle school population. What I'm saying, let me use an I statement, that's not something I'm going to be cool with, right? Those babies are ours. I take the responsibility for educating you very seriously. If there is a problem in the way we are delivering that education, we're not running from it anymore. We're not afraid of it, right? We built teams who are hypothetically supposed to be responding to just the concerns that you might have had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade about identity, about options, about your place in the world. That's the role that we signed up for.
And again, glad to continue the conversation, but does anyone else wish to speak?
No, I just wanted to say.
Sure, we like dialogue with kids, so, well, with students, so feel free.
So I went to another school before this one. I think it was EAC or DeWitt. I forgot which one, but I forgot which one this was from. But I had a friend who she had a lot of health problems, mental health problems, and she was having a really hard time at school. And they tried for a little bit, and then they gave up on her, and she couldn't come back to school for the rest of the year. And New Roots doesn't give up on anybody that comes to school. Everybody always has a second chance. They never, they've never given up on anybody. And I just want to say that that's a great thing about New Roots.
Appreciate your comments.
I think a lot of us at New Roots feel at home there, and I don't think that, like I said earlier, I don't think that right now I think we should strengthen what we have, and I agree with Ella in everything, honestly, and I just don't think I've ever felt more at home at the school, so.
Yeah, and I think the fact that half the speakers today were students, and we took our Wednesday nights to show up. I mean, I carpooled with people to get other people here, shows that we are deeply invested in this school. And if it didn't exist, we wouldn't be here. As people, like, not even as like New Recruit students, as it's in high school or LICS or Boynton or
Sure.
DeWitt students.
No, we appreciate that, and you should know that we have no decision-making power.
Yeah.
It's not the.
I just think it's important for the community to know how we feel as students, because
Absolutely.
we're people.
Right, and we prefer to hear from students, frankly, more than the adults, because we hear from adults a lot, but we certainly appreciate you coming tonight, well, the students coming tonight and speaking. That's the most helpful to us. Well, to understand the dynamic that between what we're trying to do in the district. Obviously, when we, as Eldred says, when we mean we serve all children, we mean all, and that was an argument that we had. Well, not an argument. That was an initiative that was foreign to some. That no, we mean all, and so that's.
I would like to
whatever works best for you.
Live up to that for sure,
Right.
because I didn't feel like it was lived up to when I was here. But
It's we work in progress. We've accomplished a lot, but we.
it's the same with us. We're a work in progress.
Exactly.
It works for
As
some
a
kids.
student with an IUP at Lansing, I felt that my learning needs were ignored, and they gave me separate testing area, which is needed, but they didn't do it in the same manner that New Roots does. New Roots kind of lets you leave quietly, where they made it into a scene where other students were there to look at it and ostracize it. And I felt very self-conscious about just walking down the hall and here I haven't received like one comment about my learning disabilities. One might be because it's a common thing for a student at New Roots to have learning disabilities, but we accept that as like an individual, and I think New Roots is just better equipped to handle students with IUPs.
No, thanks. Anyone else wish to speak? Again, we're glad to dialogue, but you know we're going to turn the camera off at some point here, and again, if those of you who had longer statements, feel free to submit them to Jennifer, and there's a variety of folks that are doing written statements that are going to see us on the Charter Schools Institute.
Talk to us, Danielle. What you got?
I just want to add, it might be of value for the community to have more awareness and education. Just a little bit about what the methodology around the Montessori-inspired philosophy is. Because I so respect what you're saying about we want all students in the middle school to be taken care of. I'm paraphrasing, but you're saying like, we're going to make this work for everybody. And I don't hear this initiative as being something that will serve the fringe children or children that don't fit this model. But the Montessori method, especially for the middle school ages, is a very unique methodology. It's like coming into the model from a different doorway, completely a different direction. These are children that are going to resonate with that method and that methodology of education. That's completely different than the public school model. So I think that's a really important point to keep fresh and for people to have a sound 101 education on so that they understand.
I do have that awareness.
Great. Yay. So thank you.
I will use this occasion to announce that we will be holding some forums, informational forums, once we move forward in the process. Right now, this is just a proposal. We're gathering public comment. It's putting the cart before the horse a little bit for us to be publicizing a new middle school, because we don't have a new middle school yet. But once we are moving forward in the process, we would love to open up some public conversation about what exactly is a Montessori inspired environment and why we feel that would be beneficial to students.
Could I just ask a question now? Since you're here. The difference between the LEAP program and your middle school, I'm kind of curious what that is. And the other thing I'm curious is how is the LEAP program currently funded?
In the same manner as all public charter school students.
So the LEAP students are also receiving tuition from the home school?
Yes.
As we speak. Okay.
Yeah.
But what will be the difference between the LEAP and the middle school then? That like what's different about what you already have with your LEAP program and what you wish it to be with the middle school?
It's a very good question. So similar in methodology, but a program designed for students who are in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, as opposed to students who are spending that 1 year of high school preparation prior to going into high school. So we would anticipate, in terms of a LEAP program, depending on who's enrolling, that we'd be looking at students who have spent some years homeschooling and then would like a year of high school preparation before moving into a high school environment. Or students who have completed a middle school program and would like another year of developing math and literacy skills before going to high school, sort of that gap year concept, as opposed to a middle school proper, which is 6th, 7th.
So would you then not have LEAP, or would you still do LEAP?
Well, that's a really good open question. It really depends on if there's interest in LEAP. Just like New Roots Charter School wouldn't exist if there weren't students who wanted to enroll in it. So similarly, LEAP will not exist if there aren't students in the community that are interested in enrolling in it.
But do you, if you had your way, whichever you wanted, would you want both LEAP and middle school? Or does the middle school replace LEAP?
We're a board that asks lots of questions.
No, it's a really interesting question, because what I want is what's going to work best for students. So when we have students that come to us and enroll, if there are students who want LEAP and would be well served by it, then we want to offer that program. And for a student that's of middle school age, that is, going into grade 6, 7th, and 8th, we want a vibrant middle school program for them. LEAP is I'm really thrilled that SUNY decided to authorize that. It is very out of the box, to have an ungraded program.
Can I ask another question about it, because I'm just trying to conceptualize this. So currently, say you have a 13-year-old in the LEAP program who perhaps has completed in another school, completed 6th grade or 7th grade. And so, okay, after this 1 year, if there's no middle school next year, what would happen to that student?
So the program is designed to prepare students to enter 9th grade the next year.
So if they haven't completed 8th grade, would they have to go to some middle school and complete 8th grade before they could?
No.
No.
No. It's interesting, and again, it's different than the way school districts are organized, but the way that our charter is written, any student who is 13 or older is eligible to enter 9th grade. So, and we have a lot of students who come directly from homeschooling, for instance, who are 13 and they have no middle school background. And so LEAP is a program actually that we think especially benefits homeschoolers who are making a transition into more formal education.
I have an additional question about the homeschool kids. I just don't know the answer to it, Tina. So a homeschool baby decides to go into the LEAP program and then enter your program? That child, even though they are going directly from homeschooling to New Roots, if they're an ICSD kid, meaning they live in our district, sure, we still hypothetically are sending you a check for those children, right? Even though they've never touched a floor, a building.
They're a student within our
Never used a bathroom
They're
here.
a student within the district. Yes, it's not hypothetical.
Right.
That's right, the district.
Well beyond
right,
hypothetical.
Right.
It's the law.
The district receives the funding from New York State and from taxpayers, and then there's a portion of that that comes to us as a charter school that is providing the education.
Then hopefully the audience and the public listening can understand why that lights our hair on fire.
Eldred, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Those students that are homeschooled that don't come to school at ICSD, do you receive the funding from the taxes that they pay?
No.
No?
No.
No.
Because they're not counted on.
They're not in any of our buildings.
Okay.
But they are counted once they're in New Roots.
That's right.
So
I have one more question. Whose idea was the LEAP program? What person, individual, or group of people came up with the idea to do LEAP?
It's really a collaborative process.
Between?
And, board members, administrative staff, we had teachers in the mix. Requests from parents, we're sort of a motivator of, listening to people who are coming to us looking for options for their students.
So you board and at school propose this to the Charter Schools Institute.
Yes.
Essentially changing the configuration of the people who attend your school and who districts pay for, and no district, especially us, was made aware of this change in your charter. A whole new group of students, and that was not thought worthy of public review, public comment?
SUNY has a whole process for public review and comment like this forum, and that was part of the charter renewal process 2 years ago.
I was there. No one mentioned LEAP. There was no mention of LEAP.
Let me take another swipe at explaining the finances to you who aren't picking.
I'm not thinking about finances.
The price of an education, while it does come with a price, what I've gained from it can't be put into numbers.
Also, New Roots doesn't, for a student, for my education, there's a certain amount of money that goes into me. New Roots doesn't get the same amount of funding that you guys over here would get for me. So I think that's something to also put into perspective.
Well, that's what the charter schools asked for. They told the state of New York that they could do it better with less money. That was a specific part.
Not necessarily going against.
And if the child in New Roots program has special needs, and those numbers might exceed what we would pay for that same child with special needs. Again, I'm not expecting you, Ella, to be a master in the finances, but you are under our umbrella, so to speak, right? Transportation, your IEP needs, those things are still covered by our district, right? So let me go back to saying something to you adults about how this money is working. So each 60 children represents $1 million. Under the tax cap, we then as a group can now collectively go out and raise that. Right? The tax cap effectively prevents us from trying to fill in that gap. So not only are we losing money, Michael, for children who've never touched a door in this district, we're now, by law, not allowed to recoup that money. In the neighboring districts, the numbers of children who are enrolling in those programs is dwindling. And that is having significant impact on those programs, right? And some of the numbers are actually quite scary. We wonder what's going to happen to some of these school districts. Will they consolidate? How will they continue to function? We are in the amazing position where this community is in such demand that our housing numbers are growing. We had 100 more kindergarten children this year, right? We're actually growing. So again, to have our numbers at the middle school depleted in ways that we can't touch or impact is maddening, right? We're asking you, let me make a direct appeal now to the parents who are thinking about this. Look at the numbers. Just sit down with somebody who actually understands numbers, right? Look at the models of the school. Look at how we've grown our success rate in middle school and high school. Make a decision based on some facts, please. We're asking you to give us that chance. And I can say that in all honesty without diminishing the high school product that exists now, not diminishing the workload that Tina and her board has put into that building and renovating physical spaces and doing all the work it's taken to survive this long. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when it comes to your 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I think you might be missing opportunity by not looking at what's happening in our building.
As an IUP student who's more of a financial burden, I guess, if you were to put it that way, I'd be interested to see how you guys spend your IUP money, because like I said, I've never gone to IHS because I grew up in Lansing, but I didn't feel like they were meeting my educational needs. Like, I couldn't read till the 7th grade, other than like a small like treehouse books. Magic Treehouse was about the extent of what I could read. Once I learned how to read in 7th grade, but when I came to New Roots, my reading literacy rate is now a grade above where I should be. And like I said before, my self-confidence has gone through the roof because New Roots instilled me, like, at least in our history class, like, we learned about movements that were caused by people who were educated. And so I wouldn't say shrink our education, but to like deny that education to students of a lower age or grade level, I think would just be wrong.
Well, I love the dialogue. The public hearing portion has been completed because I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go home. I suggest those of you who wish to keep talking and all that, feel free to do so. But it's about 7 o'clock on a winter night, and I'm going to take off.